This time, let's talk about Barbara McClintock and the famous jumping. She is the geneticist who revolutionized the understanding of DNA. In case you don't know what jumping genes are, these are called transposable elements which changed our understanding of DNA, genetic variation, and chromosomal behavior in altogether. Despite the revolutionary nature of her work, surprise, surprise, this was initially dismissed by her male colleagues. She didn't receive recognition that she deserved until many years later, culminating in Nobel Prize in 1983. Before the discovery of transposable elements, we assumed that genes were fixed elements in chromosomes, but the discovery of jumping genes proved that genes can transpose from one position to another during recombination, and this leads to genetic variation. So, this mobile genetic elements or transposons completely changed our understanding of genomic plasticity, mutations, and evolution altogether. Her work was famously done in maize. Her discoveries were initially met with skepticisms, not just because it was a male-dominated field at the time, but also because it was against the established genetic paradigms of the time. The idea that genes could move or jump from one place to another were considered radical, and many researchers dismissed her work as speculative or just unsubstantiated. And the coolest part about her winning Nobel Prizes in 1983, when she won the Nobel Prize, she did so without sharing it with any man. And this is seen as vindication for her work, which has been dismissed for far too long. So we can proudly say that she is a broad shoulder that we can stand upon to build our future. This time, let's talk about Cori, the first Nobel Prize winning female biochemist. She won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1947 for her groundbreaking work on enzyme catalysis. Despite her incredible achievements, her early work have been downplayed, and her scientific achievements has been attributed to, surprise, surprise, Cori, her husband. So, for those who don't know what Cori cycle is, in 1920, Gerty and Cori together found the biochemical pathway of glucose metabolism, in which glucose is broken down into lactic acid. This is anaerobic respiration pathway which happens in the liver. This was a groundbreaking discovery, and even though the discovery was published, her name was often dismissed and downplayed, and the contributions were often attributed to Cori instead of them both, due to gender discrimination at the time. Gerty unfortunately had to face a lot of trouble in academia. Rather than being known as a lead scientist on her own, she was known as the wife or assistant of her famous husband Cori. Story of many women. This time, we are going to talk about Beatrix Potter, a famous literary genius whose one talent has been forgotten. Beatrix is a famous author celebrated for her works including The Tale of Peter Rabbit, The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, but her other talent, that of being a mycologist meaning someone who is involved in the study of fungus, is largely discredited by, surprise, surprise, male peers of the time. Her work often included illustrated images, so naturally when she was interested in mycology, She studied and illustrated various mushrooms and other fungi with detailed observation about their structure, growth, classification, and even spore formation. Her watercolor paintings are considered to be of great scientific value. Despite having published them and presented them in Linnean Society of London, her work is considered to be amateur because it's coming from a woman. So, she faced a lot of gender disparity and discrimination of 19th century England. This time, let's talk about Maria Sibylla Merian. I am pretty sure I'm pronouncing her name right. If I am wrong, please let me know. She is a famous entomologist and artist who is widely considered as the first person ever to study and document the life cycle of insects. Despite being the first person to study this, her work was often disregarded or ignored and appropriated. Unlike other naturalists who focused only on the adult form of insects at the time, Maria actually focused and recorded the entire life cycle of insects, including caterpillars, moths, butterflies, and even the eggs. And she was also a talented artist, so she naturally illustrated them. Her most famous work is The Metamorphosis of Insects of Suriname, was published in 1705, which included the entire life cycle of the insect along with its interactions with the plant. She was the first naturalist to depict insects in their natural environment, and this book remains an important contribution in the field of entomology and natural history. Posthumously, in 19th and 20th century, her work was rediscovered and she began to be celebrated as a pioneer in the study of insects' life cycle and ecology. So, one step towards women being pioneers everywhere. This time, let's talk about Emmy Noether, a pioneer mathematician who shaped modern physics. Her Noether's theorem connects the symmetries of physics to conservation laws. Her famous Noether's theorem was developed during her time at University of Göttingen. This theorem established the fundamental relationship between the symmetries of physical systems and the conservation laws. Essentially, it explains that every symmetry of a physical system corresponds to conserved quantity. This theorem provided a new mathematical framework for the understanding of conservation laws, and it became an essential tool in the field of quantum mechanics. She faced many challenges and gender discrimination during her time in the University of Göttingen. Despite her brilliance, she was initially denied from the recognition as a professor at the University of Göttingen just because she was a woman. And she was asked to help to develop the mathematical foundation of Einstein's general theory of relativity. Her gender made her an unlikely candidate in the eyes of many. Nonetheless, her work was crucial and she became an influential part of the Göttingen School of Mathematics, Germany. Unfortunately, during 1993, due to the rise of Nazi Germany, she was dismissed from University of Göttingen and she fled to the US. And despite contributing significantly to physics and mathematics in US, her work was often attributed to male colleagues at the time. But her work gained posthumous recognition, and her legacy remains as an enduring testament for the persistence and innovation, and as well as the remainder of barriers women face in academia. And she too is a broad shoulder that we can count to stand on while we are climbing our own academic ladder in the future.